Epic and LEGO are getting serious about the metaverse. There's some big news for fans of Max Payne and Lara Croft. And I've got my reviews of Everything Everywhere All at Once and LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. All that and the latest in everything cool today in the Rundown. Hey, welcome to the Rundown. I am so happy that you are here to join me in the Electric Playground. We've got a great episode for you today. My name is Victor Lucas, and this show is dedicated to Dean Metcalf, who had this great comment about my Morbius thoughts. He said, should have put Blade into the film hunting Morbius as a misidentified form of vampire, and you know that the guy is not a monster on the inside, so you become conflicted, and I think that that would have been an incredible idea. And clearly, I had a lot of comments about the Morbius review that I put out there. A lot of people in agreement, and a lot of people equally frustrated with Sony because they have these incredible Marvel characters, and it's cool that they want to make them these transmedia juggernauts in the vein of what they've been doing with Spider-Man, but they do have to be better movies, you know? And there was some interesting work in Morbius, but I agree with you, Dean, and with most of you out there that had better ideas than this movie actually turned out to be. They should have done something cool, and Blade would have been an awesome addition to that movie. All right, let's get started with your rundown, and today's episode is kind of unreal. So Tim Sweeney and the rest of the Unreal team took to the stage this week to talk about Unreal Engine 5. They demoed a bunch of the visuals that this gameplay engine is capable of. So the visuals are absolutely outstanding. And there's been a huge emphasis from UE5 to focus on the lighting and the illumination and the sort of resolution and texture detail in some of the visuals that have been concocted for us so far. Everything has been very focused on demos and just showing us what is capable of so far. But they did something pretty cool with the announcement that Unreal Engine 5 is now live and people can download it. They can upgrade their assets and move from UE4 to UE5. And what they have done is they've actually given the world a free engine for a first-person shooter. And then you can take all of the assets and all of the, the horsepower that UE5 has and customize that engine, that sort of core full game that they've delivered for free as part of UE5, and just make that experience whatever you want, which is a pretty ballsy move, but it's also indicative of the horsepower of this engine, which I know is going to be bigger than ever. I've been on the sidelines here interviewing people from Epic for so many years, and just to see them grow and grow and grow and take some big swings and some big bets, and they don't always turn out, but then they have things like Fortnite, you know? And all the while, in the back end, they've been marketing the Unreal Engine as the go-to engine for all kinds of people around the world. And so they've done a lot of stuff with indie devs and with smaller teams, and they showed off some of the work that people are doing to kind of create real-time animations and stuff that's starting to compete with what Pixar and Disney and other massive movie studios are putting together and rendering for us on the big screen. And that stuff's all linear and it's all rendered, but these works are made in real time using this engine. We're starting to see movies employ a lot of this technology, and of course, famously, The Mandalorian used the volume and this idea of projecting its backgrounds sort of game engine style, and then allowing the camera to move and pivot with actors. So Unreal is a lot more powerful than just an engine for people to make cool first-person shooters on, and it's been really cool to watch that growth. Certainly there are concerns of it being not a monopoly, but a ubiquity, and with a lot of games kind of employing a lot of the same tactics and not the same assets, but there can be this kind of sameness to the visuals. But, you know, video games are approaching photorealism and unbelievable fidelity anyways. So I don't know how we cross that threshold, you know, that uncanny valley threshold. We're going to get there with the look and feel of so many games. And then I don't know what engine you choose to create that, how much that's going to matter, because everything's going to look like a freaking movie. But that wasn't the only thing that Epic announced this week. Today, actually, they announced something very cool with the LEGO group, and basically what they're doing is setting up LEGO in digital form to be a conduit to the metaverse for kids. And there's a huge emphasis on child safety and this being a family-friendly endeavor. And of course, Lego is very interested in the idea of digitizing its physical play. I mean, that's what they've been doing with all kinds of games for forever and ever, and they've done an awesome job working with TT Games, and we're going to talk a little bit about the new Lego Star Wars game here in a bit, but things like Harry Potter, and of course they've had the Marvel universe and done some wonderful work there. So some massive lessons that this company, this toy manufacturer has made in the video game space, working with both Marvel and DC and crushing it. Lego Batman's an amazing series. I still love Lego Indy, and I play that from time to time too. I love to go back to the 2 Indiana Jones games that they've made so far. Maybe we're going to get a new one now that Lego Star Wars is out there. But Lego has had a long history in video games, but this is trying to take it to the next level, and certainly they're looking at things like Roblox and its massive IPO and its valuation out in the world. The CEO of Roblox is getting a $220 million payday this year for that, service, that game service doing really, really well. And Epic is paying attention to that. Everybody's got the metaverse buzzwords in their mouth right now, everybody that plays in the financial industries. And Epic is a massive player in the space, and there's going to be a lot of corporations that use the Unreal Engine to craft segments of the metaverse, whatever that ends up being, whatever that turns out to be. But Lego wants to be a component of that for sure, so they tweeted out that we're excited to team up with Epic to build a fun and safe place for kids to play in the metaverse. And then it went to the big press announcement and the release. I enjoyed picking up Tim Sweeney's perspective on this. He actually provided a quote in the press release. He says, "The Lego Group has captivated the imagination of children and adults through creative play for nearly a century, and we are excited to come together to build a space in the metaverse that's fun, entertaining, and made for kids and families." And, obviously a big part of that release was underlining how important it is for this space to be safe for the kids out there and for all the families that are going to definitely be concerned about. And I'm one of them. I'm a dad that watches my kid just obsess over her creations in Roblox. I told my daughter about this deal today, and she's like, "Nah, I like playing with Lego physically. I like to have the tactile sensation of playing Lego." So it was an interesting perspective, and I think that's going to be a hill that they've got to hurdle. And I know that Lego has tried these sort of build your own world type games before to limited degree of success. But certainly this deal is a massive one for both Lego and for Epic, and we'll see how that turns out. And honestly, out of all of the metaverse announcements that I've heard so far, this is the one that has me the most excited. But that wasn't the only thing that Epic, utilized as a platform to reveal with their video conference. They actually had a bunch of publishers and developers create little video vignettes talking about how they've adopted Unreal Engine 5 into their workflow. And of course, we found out that CD Projekt Red has got The Witcher. It's supposed to be a new trilogy that they're putting together, and that's coming out not soon, but eventually. And they probably won't make any cyberpunk mistakes on the launch of this game. But, the horsepower and the fidelity that Unreal is going to provide should make for an incredible game with wherever we go with The Witcher. And probably this is going to jumpstart Netflix greenlighting another season of the TV show. But that looks like an exciting partnership. I think that's going to be really cool. And then the other thing that was announced, and we don't have any footage of it, is that a new Tomb Raider game is being developed by Crystal Dynamics. So the mothership that kind of relaunched Lara Croft several years ago, and we had a recent terrific trilogy. They are working with UE5 to make us something brand new in the Tomb Raider universe, which is really cool. So the Tomb Raider announcement was very interesting, but of course, like you, I also have many hopes and expectations for where Crystal D takes us. Let's talk a little bit about that. Last seen in Shadow of the Tomb Raider a few years ago, and then some pretty cool DLC came out afterwards. We haven't had a Tomb Raider game in a bit, and it is exciting to hear the word that Lara Croft is coming back and there's going to be a new adventure. And of course, the expectation is the fidelity of this new adventure is going to blow our freaking minds, because it's going to use all of the horsepower that Unreal Engine 5 is capable of. And I am excited as hell about that because this is a character that, obviously borrowed from Indiana Jones, one of, if not my favorite character in fiction, period. So I've always loved the tomb raiding that we get to do. But I also, I want her to be just a super fun adventurer. I feel like the last trilogy was excellent, and one of the things that I really admire about the last trilogy is that it didn't pull any punches. It wasn't afraid to be really violent and really scary, and we saw Lara face unbelievable danger and death in a tangible way like we hadn't seen before. But it also got really heavy, and it got really kind of morose when you were playing the game, and she was, always questioning her motives, and I think intellectually that was great to throw back at the player, but it sort of got a little sad playing as this character that had to face real death with friends and all of that stuff, and so I wanted to walk this razor line of still having that, that kind of mature quality, but not getting too dark and not too depressing and, filled with too much confliction about some of the tombs that she is actually raiding and the cultures that she is going into. And I know that that's a big ask, because it's a modern world and we want to be sensitive to the destinations and the histories of these locations that Lara Croft is going to travel to. But I felt like it was a little too weighted, and a little too heavy, and it kind of removed a little bit of the fun. And I think Uncharted should also lean in the other direction. It should be a little bit heavier because it dealt with a lot of stuff that was pretty dark. It sort of edged up close to it. So I don't want them to feel like The Last of Us. I don't want them to feel either Uncharted or the new Tomb Raider. But I do want them to have a sense of fun about the daring do and the adventure and the craziness. Give us a real sense of the history and the globe-trotting kind of qualities of these experiences. Hit us with some impact and some punches with the violence and with maybe the gore, but don't make it too depressing, So, difficult ask. It also has to, if they make another Uncharted game as well, it has to be a new experience. It has to kind of stand separate from where we have already gone. And there have already been a ton of great Tomb Raider games, especially if you go all the way back to the PlayStation 1 era, reveal of Lara Croft and the Tomb Raider experiences. I guess one of the things that they did back then is they would include a lot more time-traveling, weird, supernatural elements, fighting dinosaurs and stuff. Like anything went, which was par for the course back in the 90s. And I think that this is a series that tried to adhere more to realism. But I don't want that adherence to realism to bring us down at all, So I do love both franchises, though, both Tomb Raider and Uncharted. You know that. So we're asking. I am asking a lot. I'm asking a lot from the dev teams that will work on these games. I want them to grow up, but not too much, I guess. But I can't wait. I especially can't wait to see the visuals on what a new Tomb Raider is going to be. But Lara Croft isn't the only character that's coming back. In a new adventure, we're also going to be revisiting classic adventures with Max Payne. And this was announced today. Remedy Entertainment has entered an agreement with Rockstar to create new versions of Max Payne 1 and 2. And so they're putting both of the games into the same package, it sounds like. And, this is very early days, so work has just begun. But it's pretty cool to see Rockstar involved with this because Rockstar, of course, took on the publishing duties of Max Payne after 3D Realms and Gathering of Developers kind of they both kind of moved away from publishing video games. But I was blown away by the Max Payne titles back in the day, and they're pretty grainy and pretty dated to check out these days. I mean, this is some really old footage, and you can get Max Payne to run a lot better than this now. The one thing that they don't punch on is the non-Remedy created. It was actually created at Rockstar Vancouver, Max Payne 3, which was a phenomenal game and an excellent kind of evolution of the franchise, but it's probably a little bit of a sore subject for the people at Remedy because, of course, they invented these characters, and Sam Lake is actually the photo also double the visual reference for the Max Payne model. He's the creative director over at Remedy. So I feel like this is the studio kind of taking back ownership and honoring the history and the prestige of the brand, and kind of going back into its roots and using its own custom engine. I forget what the engine that they use. The same engine that they made Control with, which is phenomenal. Here's a studio that decides to not do the Unreal Engine path and create their own stuff right from top to bottom, and it's served Remedy really well. They've also got Alan Wake coming. They just launched Alan Wake Remastered. They've got new Alan Wake coming, and apparently more Control is coming. But super cool announcement that Max Payne is going to be coming back. And you know that they're not just launching this to revisit Max Payne. I'm sure this is about the idea of relaunching the character and creating a whole bunch of new adventures. We're going to have to wait, though, for Max Payne 1 and 2. They've got the full meal deal budget for this, and the announcement, it was like, we have a AAA scale budget to make this game, or this collection of 2 games. I don't know how they're going to put this all together. So probably they were putting this out there to kind of, get the world to pay attention to it, because we just had the 20th anniversary not too long ago of Max Payne. But also maybe to start to, get some resumes in and start to hire up to build this project. So we've got a ways to wait, but Max Payne is coming back. Something else that I'm super happy about is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and I've got my review for you right now. This was a trip of a movie to see. I finally got out to see it last weekend, and I kind of knew what to expect from the trailers. It is a multiverse film that Michelle Yeoh is the headliner in. Ki Hugh Kwan plays her husband, and he hasn't been on screen for a long time. He was Short Round in the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom movie, and I've loved that character, that actor, since then. He's just a phenomenal on-screen presence, and I'm happy to report that the two of them have unbelievably fantastic chemistry. And the idea behind this multiverse, action, adventure, comedy is that Michelle Yeoh's character Evelyn, who's married to Key's character Waymond, is sort of caught up in her work running this laundry, and I think they have a little bit of a diner too, and they're just buried under a mountain of receipts, and they get audited, and her world starts to crack, and it starts to crack in some very interesting ways. She starts to kind of see reflections of herself, and she sees that there are sort of mirror versions of herself. She gets pulled back into this closet, and the multiverse cracks, and she sees that there's a bunch of different paths that she, Evelyn, could have taken to become an infinite number of different types of people. Of course, it blows her mind. She tries to grapple with that and still contend with the banal reality of her life and keep the laundromat going. She's putting together a little party for the community to kind of celebrate everything, which I thought was really sweet. But she is trying to grapple with the fact that she is much more than she's ever realized, and she's got a lot of power. And so the movie has this really crazy, ambitious plot, this whole conceit here, which and it's not a Marvel budgeted film, right? This is kind of an indie developed film by a couple of directors that go by the Daniels. It's 2 different Daniels that work together on their films. And they managed to get a really nice cast of people, including Jamie Lee Curtis, who's phenomenal in this movie, incredibly weird. But the other thing that they managed to do is really effectively create all of these different variations for these characters and these actors. And so there are tremendous jump cuts between realities, and exceptional work, especially from Michelle Yeoh, who is sort of taken along this path. She's the only one that can kind of understand what is happening, and so she is pivoting and changing, and Neo from the Matrix, like, kind of learning from each of these different variations of herself. And they've managed to sell this multiverse concept in an incredible way, an extraordinary way. And so much of it is down to the framing and the cinematography, and also the editing is unbelievable in this, because we are, jumping from one sequence to another, with the characters in the same sort of head position, but they're on a totally different space, and the background's all different, and they're wearing different costumes, and somehow you don't get lost in this mishmash of plot. It's showy for sure, and it's a bit of a flex the entire film too. It's like, imagine if you gave us a real budget. Imagine what we could do in the Marvel multiverse. You feel like the filmmakers are kind of saying. But everybody is game, and honestly, Michelle Yeoh has been such a phenomenal presence in cinema for so long. It's incredible to see her just own this. She's fantastic as Evelyn. The many variations of Evelyn. She's so competent and confident, except for the characters where she's not, and that disparate kind of quality in her performances is hypnotic. But everybody is great too. Wayman and Evelyn's daughter is fantastic, and there's lots of great little cameos. She's the protagonist, and there are threats that she has to contend with across the multiverse. And it gets very weird and esoteric and larger than life, and there's some interesting effects that happen, and characters kind of dissolve into piles of glitter. There's a sequence where she's got a bunch of hot dogs for her fingers, and you feel like you took magic mushrooms a little bit when you watch this movie, but it's unbelievably entertaining. And I think so much of that credit has to go, obviously, to Michelle Yeoh, but all of the supporting cast, everybody was so game for this. And honestly, I have to give like a special shout out to Ki Hugh Kwan, who is just phenomenal in this film. You just care about him. He's got a lot of pathos, and he's carrying an emotional weight with him. And one of the cool things that they do with the film too is they kind of reflect on their love story and their history through time. So not only are we bouncing to all of these different realities, we get a sense of their history, the journey that this couple has taken and this family has taken. And I was not prepared for how emotional that was going to make me, and honestly, it's all underscored by a beautiful music soundtrack, which is as crazy and esoteric as the editing is and the storytelling is. James Hong is also in this too. He's phenomenal in this movie. There are even sequences where there's a multiverse and it's a couple of rocks and they're having a conversation, and that was interesting. Like, how do you do that? How do you write and shoot and edit a sequence where two rocks are having an emotional scene? Like, I don't know how you do that, but they did it, and it's amazing. Like, you're watching it in total disbelief, and it's infinitely entertaining. It's really, really a triumph. I feel like this is one to put on your calendar for sure. It's one to source out in movie theaters and get out to see it and support it. But however you do see it, definitely see it. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is so unique and so weird and so special and such a valuable gift, I think, especially because we're talking about multiverses in the DC universe, in the Marvel universe. We're threading television shows and movies and stuff together. We're trying to keep track of all of it, and I'm sure Star Wars is about to drop their own version of the multiverse pretty soon here. But this movie, this little indie movie with a giant heart and an exceptional cast, God, it's wonderful. I'm going to give Everything, Everywhere, All at Once a 9.5 out of 10. All right, I do have another review for you guys today, and it is the Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which is a saga to play. But first, something cool came in to kind of celebrate the launch of this game. Hey guys, to celebrate Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga launching, Warner Brothers and TT Games sent me a little bit of a care package. I'm going to open that up for you right now. I've cut it already, so I can get a jump start on this. We have a physical copy of the game. I don't get those too often anymore, which is pretty damn cool. Comes with a steelbook case, which is pretty cool too, so I can put that game disc into there. I guess it's Han Solo and Carbonite on the front, which is fantastic. I love it. Lego Han Solo and Carbonite. And then here is something that my daughter and I are definitely going to have some fun putting together. They sent me the Razor Crest. It has little Baby Yoda and Mandalorian. Both those characters are featured in the game, which is cool. I am going to have a blast putting this together. My kid and I love putting Lego sets together. So thank you so much, Warner Brothers, and congratulations on the launch of Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. As you know, I've been having a lot of fun with it. All right, my friends, it's time to review Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. This is a game that I have been looking forward to for so long. I was so excited when it was announced, I think back in 2004. I feel like we've been waiting forever for this freaking game, and it's because TT Games wanted to nail this. They obviously had all of the, movies and the subplots and the characters and the storylines and expectations from the previous successful Lego Star Wars games that they've done and all the Lego projects that have come before, and they wanted to kill it. And so this is an extraordinary accomplishment, and one thing that I definitely kind of thought about the entire time I've been playing this game is that if this were the first Lego Star Wars experience, we'd be talking about this as a Game of the Year candidate. It's just so freaking ambitious and cool and funny, and you honestly get if you collected all of the cut sequences in this game, you get like a full movie's worth of really well-told little story vignettes that take you through the entire gamut of the Star Wars cinematic experience. And it's really quite wonderful just on that part. But obviously what they've also done is they've enhanced the gameplay. They've done a really good job as we float back and forth between all of the different chapters. They've done a really good job at giving us a lot more agency with our characters. They pivoted the camera down. The lightsabers feel better. The blaster shots and the firefights that we get into feel a lot better. Being able to play on both the light and the dark side, as we always have in the Lego Star Wars games, is really welcome and fun. And there's just this limitless amount of diversion in this experience. Like, you will turn a corner, you know what you got to do story-wise and plot-wise because you've seen these movies a million times, and there might be a little pivot, or there might be a side little character off in the corner, or you might see something up on a ceiling or something like that you can't quite reach, and the game is telling you, look, come back, you're not done. Even if you beat all of these chapters and play through the entire story, guess what? There's tons of extra stuff to go back in and find. And that's been true for the Lego Star Wars games, all the Lego games that TT has made before, but there's something a lot more satisfying about the way that this experience plays out. It's just a really tuned and refined game, like a game experience. It feels not like this toy derivation, not like this idea like we have got these interesting tableaus from the Lego Star Wars universe, like the toy version, and we're running characters around, sort of from the outside. You feel a lot more ownership on each of these individual characters that you get to play, or the ships that you get to fly. And here's an excellent example. This isn't the best of the tow cable taking down the AT-AT experiences that we've had in a Star Wars video game, but it's not far from that. And this is just one little nugget, buried in the copious amounts of experiences that you get in this game, And the thing that is hammered home as you're playing this game is that there really hasn't been a 3D experience that has taken us through the plots of these Star Wars movies, allowing us to play all of the characters that we love from these movies. And that's okay. I mean, it's great that the Star Wars games have like their own universe and their own cast of characters, and it's great to play as Cal Kestis in the Jedi Fallen Order experiences. It's awesome that there are all these different directions that developers have taken us on that are parallel to what we see in Star Wars. But it's also pretty damn cool to actually, play through The Force Awakens and to blow up Starkiller Base and then to fly and land and cheer with all of the rebel troops that have done something successful. I also love that there's always a sense of humor, and here's a perfect example here. The infamous scene where Chewie doesn't get a hug from Leia, from General Leia. Well, they really lean into that with TT Games, and one of the things that I love is that this is a team that has a lot of freedom to kind of poke fun at the Star Wars stuff and the mistakes and the weird choices that directors have made or writers have made over the years. and it does that over and over again. There's also a lot of different gameplay variety in the experience. Here we are taking care of the robot troops coming towards us. We're playing as the gun catapults, and we're throwing these energy bombs and destroying all of these droids and trying to blow up the tanks that are coming towards us. It's almost like a real-time strategy type of experience, caught in the middle of all of it. Super fun. This is in the Phantom Menace chapter. And one of the things that I noticed about playing the game is that, I was speeding through it, and I wasn't doing all of the side missions. I wasn't chatting with everybody. This was true when I was playing it on my own to kind of get as much of it into my brain so I could review it, but also when I was streaming it with everybody, I kind of wanted to just follow the mainline quest to kind of show everywhere that we were going to go. And that was really fun. But there are tons and tons of different ways that you can approach all of these chapters. And the thing that I kind of recognized is that it's pretty fun to just play like a chapter a night, because they work out to probably between 2 to 4 hours. So if you total up all 9 of the chapters, you're talking about a pretty lengthy game here. And you're definitely, even if you play each chapter for 4 hours and you do every route and side route, you're still not going to see everything, because you're going to want to unlock the different characters and you're going to want to upgrade everything. There's like a light RPG element in here where you can light up the different classes or upgrade the different classes and give the Jedi more power. You can spend the in-game currency. There's also these what were they, Kyber bricks that you pick up from space duels and hidden amongst different backgrounds and things. There's also mini kits that you can collect as well. And through all of that collection, you are upgrading your character classes, but you're also unlocking the opportunity to purchase new characters and ships that then are playable within the game. And the thing that I noticed as well is that, when you're not in a main story mission, you can change out and you can be whatever thing you want to be. If you're fighting a specific story bit, then you're going to be locked to those particular characters. But you don't have to finish the chapter and finish the visit to a location to start sort of testing the waters and playing as different ships and different characters, which is really cool. And the space battles are incredibly satisfying in this game, and I really felt like, obviously they're cut up and they're chopped up. They're not super lengthy because there is this sense of urgency, like we're trying to rush through all of this stuff, and I get it. They're delivering all 9 films in this game, and so they don't want to overstay their welcome, but sometimes you want to stay a little longer, like the Death Star trench run is just ridiculous in Lego form, and they did an awesome job with that. It's also really fun to see these cool vignettes where we see Vader chatting with the bounty hunters, and then this was maybe my one quibble with the game is that they had to make choices on what was playable and what wasn't playable. And this particular sequence where Han and the team are escaping from the giant worm that's coming out of the asteroid, none of that's playable. So you're just watching the movie. It's entertaining. It's super fun that it's there, but there are moments where you just want to be able to play a little bit more of that stuff. But it's a balance, like they couldn't throw every single thing into here, as much as sometimes it does feel like that's exactly the case. I loved the lightsaber duels that you got into as well, not just with Luke and Darth Vader, but Obi-Wan fights Vader, obviously, and Grievous gets, some good lightsaber action in here, and of course the Darth Maul fight is pretty phenomenal. I think they've done a really nice job showcasing. This is one of the coolest, lightsaber battles in Star Wars lore for sure, but also I think a cinematic sword fight ever. Like it went on and on and on, and the game celebrates that right up into the energy walls that the characters have to wait for before they can move through. I thought that was pretty cool. Love seeing the Yoda training that's in the game as well. Empire is my favorite of the Star Wars films, so it was really fun to kind of just soak all of this up, cruising around on Dagobah with Yoda on your back and still making the jumps and still, getting all of the challenges correct and all that. It was really, really fun. Now, one of the things that's true about this game is that it's the first time that The Last Jedi has been put into video game form, and Rise of Skywalker as well. And they've done a really good job celebrating the visual artistry of both of those movies, particularly The Last Jedi, which I know is a very controversial title, a very controversial movie. I have a lot of problems with it, but I don't have a problem with the visual splendor of that film, and it's really well represented. I streamed a bunch of that on Xbox on our Twitch channel, so definitely check that out at twitch.tv/EPN, and it looks amazing on Series X. Most of the footage that you're looking at here is directly off of the Series X. You're going to see a lot more reflections, a lot more, beautiful lighting, and better resolution and better anti-aliasing for sure. But I was also incredibly impressed by the quality of the Nintendo Switch version. I wasn't prepared for it. I streamed it a couple of times for hours on our Twitch channel, and all of us in chat and myself, we were constantly expressing like, wow, they really nailed it. They really got the look and feel. So there's not, you're not taking the biggest hit in the world. You're going to drop in frame rate, and you're going to drop in resolution, and you're going to drop in anti-aliasing. But the experience is there, and it still looks amazing on Nintendo Switch. And there's lots of really cool celebratory moments that are tiny little pieces of the film, but they are extended a little bit and just celebrate it, right? You're going to get all of these cursory characters and side characters popping up. You see Han hugging all of the money that he made by saving Princess Leia. There's all kinds of stuff like that, It was great to see Billy D. Williams is actually a part of the voice cast. He's playing Lando in the game. And Anthony Daniels is C-3PO in the game. And I think, last time I checked on IMDb, 92 different actors have been credited as different voices in this experience. Sam Witwer is in there. A lot of the Clone Wars cast is in there as well. I can quibble. I can certainly say that, Lego Star Wars is not a shock in the grand sense, because they didn't just throw out all of the work that they've done before. The minifigs are the minifigs. But because of that, though, it's not brand new. It's territory that we've kind of explored before, but it's always felt a little more removed, and definitely not as polished. And ever since Lego games have started to employ a lot of voice cast, they've just become a lot more professional feeling, But this is the game and they've tried, like Lego Force Awakens had some really cool tuning in its gameplay and stuff, and so there's been an evolution with these Lego games, but this is the biggest one for sure. This is the one where everything just felt really fresh and cool. It's like a cover shooter and a dogfight game, and it's got a ton of comedy and a great sense of humor. There's a lot thrown into this title. Honestly, I do believe that the best way to appreciate it is to just not burn through it. I say this a lot, but I think it's really important for some titles to just kind of let them breathe a bit. And if you don't overstay your welcome in playing a Lego game, and this applies to the Lego experiences across the board, but especially in this case where everything is nicely carved up for you per episode like that. If you play an episode a night, I think you're going to have an incredible time, Maybe you pair it up with watching one of the movies and then you play the episode. It's so much freaking fun. So I can quibble. I can certainly hammer the point home that there's been a lot of these, not just Lego Star Wars games, but a lot of Lego TT games, and they've all been pretty decent. And that butts up against this thing feeling like, oh my God, I've never played anything like this before. But it's still incredible. It's still an excellent get. And if you are a Lego fan or a Star Wars fan, I don't see how you can pass up Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. It's like the ending of A New Hope. It's like the Death Star blowing up. It's so satisfying. I love this freaking game. I am going to give Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga a 9 out of 10. Okay, and I've got one last thing to tell you guys about. We have found out what is headed to Nintendo Switch Online next. It is Mario Golf for the N64, and it's coming up very soon. I'm liking these stealth drops that Nintendo has been doing with some of the retro games that they're adding to the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack collection for Genesis, N64, Super Nintendo, and NES. Let's keep adding to that the console list there, Nintendo. But on April 15th, you're going to be able to play the N64 version of Mario Golf, and I hunted down the original commercial for Mario Golf for the N64, and this was great stuff back in the day, talking about the sort of violence that might occur in the sort of cartoon violence that might occur in Mario Golf. The other thing that I did too is I remember loving this game on the N64, and of course back in the day I reviewed it with a certain gentleman named Tommy Tallarico.
All right, that's good. That's good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
You stopped acting.
Yeah.
What do you think? Does that look pretty good?
Huh?
What do you think about Mario Golf, man? For the Nintendo 64.
Oh, that's cute.
Mario Golf. It's my golf club.
Golf. It's not for serious golfers.
Ah.
I wouldn't put it on there.
I disagree.
Of course you do.
I'm going to stop you right there, sir.
It wouldn't be a fun show if you didn't disagree with me.
I think serious golfers are going to get a kick out of this game. It's got everything you want out of a golf game.
Tiger Woods golf. You know, if you want a serious, great game, if you're serious,
So, were you talking?
Golf is a boring, sleepy game, but it's easy.
It's easy to play.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to beat.
I'm just, it's one of these typical Nintendo, I feel like I'm being spoon-fed and I'm like 3 years old with drool coming out of my mouth.
I like all those characters. I like the crazy cartoon worlds.
Right. He loves
That's
Mario.
all fun. I love Mario.
Show him your Mario underpants.
It's a great multiplayer game. 4 people can play at the same time.
Yeah.
The mini golf game is really fun, and that's going to be good for kids. But I also think that just serious hardcore golfers are going to find lots to play in this game and lots to enjoy.
If you're 7, you'll love this game. Or if you're Vic.
If you're 70, you'll love this game. It was one of the best games I played this year. It's definitely one of the best Nintendo.
One of the best games you played this year.
It was. Because it's that good, I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Well,
For what it is, it's
Metal
a
Gear
9.5.
Solid is a 9.5/10. Mario Golf is not. I'd give it a 7.7.
I didn't like the golfing in Metal Gear Solid, though.
You didn't, did
No,
you?
I didn't.
So that was shot actually in Sega's old headquarters in downtown San Francisco. So I don't know if they were too happy that we were shooting Nintendo 64 reviews right down in their lobby, but we made it work, and they just had a bunch of construction equipment about, and that's the way reviews on the run rolled. We kind of went with what we saw in our backgrounds and stuff. Ended up being a really fun shoot and an incredible game, and I'm so happy that it's going to be coming to my Nintendo Switch and your Nintendo Switch if you're a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber on April 15th. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for the rundown today. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for subscribing and following our 2 channels. We've got youtube.com/EPNTV and twitch.tv/EPN. Thanks for your support, everybody. We will see you soon, and until then, play forever.